So there are five big drivers that help explain what's going on in the US and global economies. So while these first three trends are going on, we have a fourth trend, which is the greening of the global economy. It's imperative that we find ways to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and deal with global warming and extreme weather events. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, this transition from fossil fuels and more fossil fuel-based economy to a much cleaner economies that use alternatives, wind, solar, battery storage, and so on, those transitions are all, I think, very appropriate. But the challenge has been, every study that I've looked at suggests that those transitions and this transition globally is going to take 20 or 25 years. It's not going to get done in the next 3 to 5 years, meaning we're not ready to make an immediate transition from fossil fuels to wind, solar, or even electrification of the auto fleet. We don't have the capacity yet to make that transition. We may have to relook at more access to nuclear and other alternatives. And the danger is if we cut back fossil fuels too rapidly and we don't have the alternatives available, what many countries around the world will do is burn whatever they have, which will be far dirtier, including coal. And we're seeing some of that now in the fossil fuel industry. There are billions being spent on sequestration, carbon capture, and many other techniques that make producing oil and gas much cleaner than the past, certainly much better than burning coal around the world. And the United States, from based everything I can see, is the cleanest oil and gas producer in the world. And so to the extent that we incentivize more US production and rely less on oil production around the world, we may actually have a cleaner environment. But that's a politically sensitive thing to say right now. This is a monster transition. When I say monster, I've seen estimates of $175 to $200 trillion is going to be spent globally over the next 20, 25 years to make this transition. I think it's very appropriate, but I'll remind you, global GDP is in the neighborhood of $100 trillion. So we're talking about spending a multiple of global GDP on this transition. And if we don't do it in a careful, integrated way, it's going to be very expensive. These excess costs will be borne disproportionately by low, moderate income families and low, moderate income countries. We're dealing with a inflation issue, which is disproportionately hurting low, moderate income families. And we're seeing this today in the United States, for example. If you're a family that makes $50,000 a year or less, and you're dealing with higher rents, higher food prices, higher healthcare costs, and in order to get to work, you need to spend more on gas, that family cannot make that work. And so one of the objectives that we ought to have in the greening globally of the economy is human flourishing. Can we devise an integrated plan that allows low, moderate income populations to also flourish through this? I'm not sure we're doing a very good job of it now. The greening is a substantial trend. It should be talked about much more than it is, and doing that in an integrated way, I think, is very critical to having a prosperous, flourishing economy, not just here, but around the world.
To learn about the 5 structural drivers of the global economy, continue watching our clips on the Robert Stephen Kaplan YouTube channel or visit robertstephenkaplan.com.